So Valentine's Day is coming up, and it's always a tough day to be single. But for my single listeners out there, I'd like you to consider something. I'd like you to consider that maybe over the past few months, a relationship miracle presented itself to you, but you unknowingly sabotaged it. Now, this was not what I had in mind for my third podcast. My original intention was just for me and my friend Chris to chat about gay dating, my book. I was going to maybe share a few tips, stuff like that. But as we started talking, Chris shared about a recent first date he had had, and the conversation opened up and moved in a totally different direction. And after a few questions, I finally just asked Chris straight up, are the supposed flaws you see in this guy really worth sabotaging a potential miracle over? So as you listen to me and Chris in this conversation, just maybe look and see if our conversation applies to you in your love life. Maybe you've been killing potential miracles and you don't even know it. Happy Valentine's Day!
Actually, this very afternoon, I was over at a friend's house and I was telling him about this really nice guy that I went out for a drink with when I was working away earlier this week. And to me, he seemed like, because I'd met him and he was well educated. He was very handsome. We had a good laugh. The date went very well. My friend took one look at him and said that I could do much better than him. So based on what you were saying about, trying to find common ground and trying to find out, if somebody is a worthy match. To me, it seemed like my own perceptions of what would be a good match.
Well, why does that matter?
In terms of what might be a good match, or
why does what your friend saying, why should that impact anything at all?
Not to sound like self-centered, but my friend was giving me a compliment. My friend was telling me that I should aim higher,
And I mean, is that what you're going to do? Are you not going to see that person because your friend told you could do better?
I don't think I'll just completely dismiss him just because one of my friends said that I could do better. But I think it's important to consider that sometimes with this app culture, you tend to make sort of internal compromises. And this is just an example that kind of made me think of this. Sometimes, like if you haven't, been on a date for a while, I don't know whether you can relate to it at all, but sometimes you kind of tend to sort of go, oh well, I don't really like this person, but I might go out with him. I might go out with him anyway.
Okay, but wait. So, because you're touching on two different things, and I want to distinguish that because you're getting on something that's both in the theme of my first book and the theme of a second book, if ever I write one. Is there's always that nagging thing as a guy in general, but particularly as a gay guy, of can I do better? And I'm going to answer that question for you right now. Okay, are you ready?
I'm here with bated breath.
Yes, you can do better occasionally.
Yeah.
Now, will the people who are quote unquote better love you, enjoy your company, treat you with respect, and be there for you the same way that this other guy potentially would?
Well, that's a very interesting thing because that brings us to how do you define better?
No, well, let's keep it simple because what's going to happen. First of all, I'm playing with you, and I appreciate your willingness because I'm just going to explore this with you because every gay guy is dealing with this. So I promise you, like, it's not you. I mean, it's and if I weren't struggling with it, I wouldn't be writing it because I'm trying to sort my own head out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You made it sound like you had a really nice time the first time you went on a date with this guy. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Okay. So you want to get clear about you had a nice time. Who knows what miracles might show up? But because your friend said he's not hot enough for you, you are about to sabotage a potential miracle.
Well, potentially. I think he wasn't speaking about him like visually. What he actually said to me was that I could be with somebody who's like a lot smarter rather than more attractive. So I don't think he liked the way that he presented himself. But I see what you mean. That
Yeah,
potentially
don't
just
get
because of
pedantic
an
about it,
opinion
right?
that my friend
So
said.
your friend started whispering in your ear, and you took that on as it was gospel or like the 10 Commandments had been written in stone. And now that's jading your perception of this guy.
It kind of is, a little bit.
We as gay guys will do that, right? Something might be possible, but we'll think, I don't really want to commit to him because something better might show up.
And sometimes that can like literally be the case. Like when you've kind of got like a good rapport going with somebody, and then you can have like going back to the apps, you can have a message from someone completely new who you think, oh, actually, and then you start compromising internally with the person who you're having a really good rapport with. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, but here's the other thing to take it back to, because let's keep it specific as opposed to in the general. If we're looking at what did you conclude for yourself after your friend said that? So maybe it wasn't around looks. I jumped to that. So maybe did you say, oh, well, maybe he's not smart enough for me?
Yeah, I mean, I did certainly look at him a little bit differently. It was more kind of, what am I looking for? It did kind of make me kind of think about it like that. It was a bit more like it wasn't. I viewed him a bit differently, and I started to kind of question my perception of him.
You're touching on something great, because I write in my book, and I hope I'm not like sounding like because a sales pitch, but I have a whole chapter on do some work to distinguish what you must have to be happy in a relationship versus what's icing on the cake. Because for 99.99% of the population, there will always be something wrong with them. The issue is it a flaw you can get next to, or it is a flaw that's a deal breaker? And the issue that I find is gay guys have spent no time actually distinguishing what do I have to be happy.
Great. And actually, this brings me to a really, really good example that I can cite specifically from my own dating history. My first boyfriend, right? He, in terms of, fulfilling boyfriend criteria, for most of them, he was really great. He was sweet, he was kind, he was funny. We had lots of common ground. He seemed to be, we seemed to be really, really into each other. But there was one very important thing that was missing, and this was not on a boyfriend level. This was on a person level. There was no respect as a person, and that's something that I think we
You didn't
need
respect
to have.
him, or he didn't respect you?
He didn't respect me as a person.
How do you know he didn't respect you as a person?
I know that he didn't respect me as a person because I was kind of always an afterthought, and whether that was to do with meeting him or going out with him or getting together, I was kind of always an afterthought, and I could see it in
what. So how do you know he was an afterthought? Because people don't. Did he actually say you're an afterthought? Get specific.
He didn't say that I was an afterthought. But if for some reason he couldn't, well, let's start at the beginning. So there was a bit of a distance between us, right? So we had to travel about half an hour, or maybe like half an hour to an hour by car or by train to see each other.
Okay.
So every time that I had to go and see him, it was fine. And every time I planned something to do with him, we had a really, really good time. When it was the other way around, he either wouldn't show up, or as in, well, I say he either would show up. He wouldn't show up mainly because there was something that had happened, and I'm not saying that The reasons he gave me were insignificant. The reasons were perfectly valid. But, like one time his friend...
You're okay. I have to. The podcast is taking a slightly different direction because it's me kind of going into you rather than me. But do you know what you just did, by the way?
What did I just do, Andrew?
You just you took the emphasis off of you and pointed it at someone else. So before you give me a long drawn out story, why were you trying to commit with something who could not be bothered to hang out with you?
Because looking back, in all honesty, my self-esteem was quite low, and he seemed nice at nice at the time, handsome at the time, and it felt nice to be liked.
Can I ask that, and you can, was he hotter than what you could normally get?
Yes, he was. Actually, he was.
We have all been there, myself included, right? Like we have all been there. So that's the other thing we got to get about gay guys, right? We respond to physical attractiveness, right? Now, the instant you kind of get that, I'm going everywhere with this, but you want to get to a place where if you acknowledge that, you can see that that's biology moving in a certain direction and you can powerfully choose it. And you choose what comes with it, aka a flaky boyfriend, or you powerfully choose, I can't get into a relationship with this guy, as opposed to, because I was trying to ask you what's wrong with the first guy, and you went back to the past boyfriend. And by the way, this is human nature. We all like this. Humans don't like to confront what they're doing in the moment that might be sabotaging them from having something great. They squirm and they'll be like, oh, well, wait, no, see, it's not really about that. It's really about this ex who is flaky and a jerk to me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to circle it back around. What happened with this guy where your friend said, what did your friend say? Like, he's not smart enough? Or or what was the flaw? What was missing?
He said, basically what he meant by what he said was that day to day, I dress myself, for all the listeners out there, day to day, I take quite a bit of pride in my appearance. I always make sure that I dress kind of smarter than the occasion warrants usually, because that's just how I feel comfortable. It gives me confidence to dress that way, to feel good and to look good, right? So he basically took because he's known me for about a year now, and he took one look at this guy's picture, and he said to me, if you were looking at the body, you weren't looking at him. You're much smarter than him. He's a bit of a mess. That's pretty much what he said.
So does the guy have a hot body?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
There are pecs and abs and biceps and everything.
So, because I had a friend, right? So I rewrote my Tinder chapter because I had this friend who was complaining. He's very handsome. In my book, I call him Gloomy Grover. Gloomy Grover is very, very handsome, but he has low self-esteem, and he also is hyper picky, and then it creates just a mess. He was saying, oh, I can't find a good guy on Tinder. And I said, let's swipe together. And I kind of know his type. We came to a guy that was his type, good looking, good body. And I said, what's wrong with that one? And he goes, oh, he's wearing a flannel shirt.
Really?
Yeah. And that was, now, the thing is, so what I want to ask you is, are you absolutely 100% committed to someone who dresses well?
Well,
the answer is yes or no, by the way.
It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no question. Okay. The answer is yes, but there is a qualification.
Okay. What's the qualification?
The qualification is, and I think you'll like it. The qualification is they have to dress well for them. They have to dress in a way that suits them.
What does that mean?
That means that not everyone has to dress the same way, but they have to dress in a way that, works for them. They have to be aware of so they have to be kind of self-aware to know that they have to dress a certain way for their body. So like, for instance, I don't know, being quite slim but wearing very, very baggy clothes, even if those clothes are objectively nice, but they don't suit their body. So they just have to be able to, when I say dress well, they have to dress in a way that suits them.
Okay. let me phrase it another way. Are you willing to sacrifice a potential miracle because someone doesn't dress a certain way that suits them?
No.
You said no, right? I heard that right?
You said you heard right. I said no.
Chris, we've all been there, right? So, and God knows I've been there, and I'm writing a book about it. So we're all dealing with that. So, by the way, it's always easier to see someone else's issue than to see your own, right? That's just human nature. Because in your mind, he needs to dress a certain way, that occurs to you as a real issue. But it's occurring to me as complete BS and nonsense. And it's probably occurring to a lot of listeners as BS and nonsense. Now, we don't have to get significant about it. So don't beat yourself up or say, oh, well, you were, because we all have these BS conversations that run through our heads. If we don't check them, they will sabotage us. Do you kind of get where I'm going with that? Like, you don't feel like, I just want to check, you don't feel like I'm having a go at you or I hate you or anything like that, right?
No, I don't. No, I don't feel that. I don't feel that way. I guess, yeah.
In dating, the answers are actually always quite simple. We make them more complicated than they are. And part of the reason we do that, in my humble opinion, is that gets us off the hook, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Because let me put it this way. Suppose you were a fashion editor at Vogue magazine or one of the big magazines. You at that point, your livelihood might actually be affected whether or not your husband doesn't dress well, right? And if you're a fashion designer, now a lot of fashion designers, they just wear black all day because they can't be bothered. But if you're in that world and that is your passion and your partner must share that passion, then yes, you would sacrifice a potential miracle because that is so intrinsic to who you are as a person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If it's not that intrinsic to you as a person, you might be sabotaging yourself from something amazing.
No, that's true. I mean, it's quite important to me as a person, but on a level where it's where I found confidence and it's where I found comfort and assertiveness from feeling that I dress well and that I look good. So it kind of comes from a place where if that's my experience, and I can't judge on anyone else's experience.
But you get to say, right? I asked you what is one of your must-haves versus what's icing on the cake. You get to say, is him dressing well a must-have or is it icing on the cake?
It's probably icing, but I really like icing.
Yeah, but what you are confronting right now is what stops all of these gay guys from having amazing relationships, just on different levels about different things. Now, I may edit this out, so you have permission to. I may, because we're gonna go one level deeper, right? And if I've gone too far, I'll cut it out. Okay. So you said this guy has a hot body.
Mm-hmm.
Are you satisfied with your body the way that it is right now?
Oh, you did go to a deep level, didn't you? Well, I mean, we could fill up an entire podcast.
No, the answer is always simple, baby. Like, it's always, it's a yes or no.
No, I know. Yeah. Truthfully, I'm happy with my body. Truthfully, I am.
Okay. How would, so, because obviously, listeners wouldn't know, and how would you describe your body type?
Oh, well, I'm large and I'm quite chubby. I'm quite a heavy guy, and I'm kind of berry, really.
Okay, no, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't. So stick with me, okay? Because I love you, and I'm. This is circling back around. Do you sometimes feel like the gay community judges people too superficially? And do you feel that you're judged on a superficial level?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
So what did you just do to this guy with a hot body?
I'd say probably I did two things to him. the first thing I did was when I saw his profile picture, he went up in my estimations because of his body. When my friend said, Christopher, you can do someone smarter than him, I saw his body in a slightly different light and he kind of went down.
Okay, but we just had a conversation how you think less of him because he doesn't dress a certain way. And you actually, you're, by the way, this is very human. I asked you, I said, do you have a complaint that gay guys judge you on a superficial level? You said yes. And then I said, do you do that to him? And you circled around, oh, well, I kind of like this. And then it went down and the answer was simple.
Yeah, what I said was, yes. So the answer is yes. But I judged him positively and I also judged him negatively.
Okay. But by the way, this is very human, right? Now, again, I'm not a psychologist. You could assert that because you feel a little insecure about your body, you're trying to find something to judge him back because you might be insecure about that. I don't know you well enough to make that pronouncement. That's an area for you to go home and look, but maybe that's there. But what there is to get is you have not said anything to me that I or a gazillion other gay guys have not done. You've complained. I really hate it when people do X to me, but it's okay when I do Y to them, even though X and Y are almost the same.
Exactly.
Do you get how silly that is?
Yeah, no, of course. It is ridiculous. It's crazy.
So, because part of me is like, just so I'm clear, you went on a date. Could he hold a conversation? He wasn't a complete moron.
Oh, no, we had a great conversation.
So he can hold a conversation. His body is smoking hot. You had some common interests?
Yeah, lots.
What was one of them?
Geekiness and sci-fi was one of them.
Okay. And has he ghosted you since that date?
No.
Okay. I guarantee you 99% of our listeners are laughing right now. It's not significant, right? And I appreciate you being so willing to let me kind of work with you a little bit because you've been great.
Thank you.
This is the type of stuff I deal with in the book, and this is the type of thing that drives me crazy because I see a whole community of everyone doing what you did to this guy.
Yeah.
Now, you said when you were dating this flaky guy, how long ago was that? 2 years?
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago, yeah.
So let's say you get out of that breakup and let's say 3 or 4 months have transpired. Let's say you rubbed a magic lamp or God came down and granted you a wish or something like that. And someone said, Christopher, I'm going to give you a guy who's smoking hot, into science fiction, and is going to see your value as a person. Yay or nay to that? What are you going to say?
Yay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
This is part of the human condition, right? There's an element of there's always going to be a little something to nitpick. The issue is it a deal breaker or not? I mean, in your case, it was, to me, that just seemed really easy. The issue is when it comes down to when it's right on the edge of deal breaker. Now, I personally, for me, a way a guy dresses is not a deal breaker for me. But when it's on the edge, then it gets tricky. So we took the podcast in a completely different direction because I had a laundry list of things I wanted to rant about. But actually, I think more people will get value out of just me working with you a little bit to, you know what I mean, than me just kind of getting on a soapbox because I guarantee you the vast majority of listeners will have heard themselves in this recording. I guess the issue is, what are you going to do now?
Well, I mean, I don't know because it's one of those things where I'm sure we've all had at some level. We've all had a revelation.
Okay. You're squirming, baby. What are you going to do with this guy right now?
Well, I sent him a text earlier today, so I'm going to see if he's texted back.
Yeah, exactly. You want to continue to explore that because you don't know what that may have been an absolute miracle that you might have just accidentally almost sabotaged. And my whole point of, which is weird because we kind of got into it anyway, what I really wanted to say is and not all the time, and your example was easy and it was easy for me to work with, but Gay guys get miracles like this all the time. And because they are so convinced that what goes on in their own heads is, manna from heaven or the gospel truth, they will sabotage an amazing thing. Because I'm about to say, if he's got a hot body and he's into science fiction, if you don't want him, give him my number. It's funny because I said that's the number one thing that kind of is a determinative whether or not I enjoy the date. But I'm teasing you. But if that's your deal breaker, then let him loose and let somebody else enjoy him because someone will snatch him up. But
I have no doubt somebody would. But I want him.
So if it's not a deal breaker, now you don't have to if I were you, I probably wouldn't send him a link to this conversation.
No, heavens no.
But you can begin to explore. Now you want to be responsible around it. You're not going to show up with flowers and an engagement ring, but you just want to get present
I'll cancel the order.
Say that again?
I said, damn it, I'll cancel the order.
Yeah, but there was no order. Well, actually, it's Valentine's Day, so who knows? It's Valentine's Day coming up. But you just want to be open to what can I create if I get out of my own way? And it's simple.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it may not, who knows? Because with gay guys and dating, it might end up being a great friendship. It might be a relationship. It might be a serious relationship. And you want to be responsible about it. Like if you've only gone on one date, you don't come to the second one being like, let's get together. But you want to be open to yourself and you don't have to answer that question. Just be just dwell in what can I create with this guy if I get out of the way?
Yeah, definitely.
And you're going to see stuff that's opening up. And if a friend says oh, well, honey, he doesn't dress well enough for you, or you can do better, be like, you know what? You're right. I do like it when a guy can dress better, but he's so hot and he so gets me. I'm going to at least give him 3 months. That's the other thing about gay guys. We get very oh, I went on one date, so I refuse to go on a second one. You can date someone casually for a month or 3 or 4 dates to see, because most gay guys are so convinced they want perfection. When it doesn't show up, they cut the whole thing off.
No, quite right.
And that's what drives me nuts. And so I was one of the things on my kind of laundry list was, if someone is into you and they're giving you time and energy, you think long, and this is what I tell myself, you think long and hard before you dismiss that. Because the time it will take for someone else to come and have that same level of interest, that may not be just tomorrow. That may be a month or 2 or 3 months or 6 months down the line. And it's so easy if you get so many messages where you're thinking, well, any of them might be a potential boyfriend, and you're not appreciative of this guy is right in front of you trying to give you his time and energy.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So, exactly. And I'm not having a go at you. I'm kind of explaining this for kind of reader or listeners at home to kind of get the world of what they can be thinking, and they can. So I'm not, if I'm over explaining something, it's not because I think you're thick. It's obvious you're brilliant. You just gotta, I told you this stuff is simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your friend proposed something. You took it as gospel and you almost sabotaged yourself. Period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's have a great date. If it were me, I probably wouldn't suggest Valentine's because that'll get serious too fast. But have a great date, see where it leads. And here's the other thing: if you guys get into a relationship, that will rub off. He will dress better if he sees you doing it. If you guys are committed, that kind of stuff just happens. I guarantee you, all of my boyfriends are better communicators after they date me than before. Yeah, it doesn't mean I can save the relationship. Yeah. But they are better at communicating, and they're better at spotting their issues. They're better at dealing stuff than they were. In fact, anyway, I'll leave that to this. But your passion, if that's a true passion, that will be infectious to him. And if he sees you inspired around it, he'll want a piece of it. So that's another reason not to knock that off your list, because that's easy. That's I don't know when his birthday is, but you might get him a new outfit for his birthday if you guys continue to date. That's a very easy one to fix.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean that would be. You are totally right, and I'm aware now that I'm very much squirming. But yeah, no, you're completely right. it's not something that you should just kind of throw away or overthink, because you could be, just as you say, just putting yourself in your own way of having something amazing.
And the only difference between me and you is I have trained myself to think this way. And I've gone to other people like Jean Lloyd to train me how to think this way. It's not that I've got a magic formula or that I'm inherently smarter. It's like I've been working at this a little bit longer. And I see in the gay community, no one has, like Jean said in kind of my first podcast, she said gay guys don't have access. What she means by that is they don't have access to have these kinds of conversations with each other. But boy, we know how to get shady, don't we? We know how to be like, was that a gay guy? Or the friend that said he didn't dress well, was that a guy or a girl?
That's a guy. It's a gay guy.
Boy, we can get shady with each other, can't we? Be like, he doesn't dress well. Like, we can get it. Like, we're experts at that. We're not experts at that was nonsense, what he just said to you. Get over it and go create something awesome with this guy. So anyway, I've beat a dead horse. First of all, Christopher, I just want to thank you so much for being a good guest. Again, like, this was not what I expected, and this was not how I intended it, but I just appreciate how open you were. And I'm 100% confident that this was better because you shared authentically with what was going on in your life. Was much better if we just tried to expound about Grindr or this or that. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, Andrew, and for giving me this platform. I think, to be honest, the way you helped, the way you kind of encouraged me to kind of speak personally, it kind of made doing that the best way to kind of get the point across. So I think that's a really good way of just having these types of conversations rather than sort of being academic about it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, well, we're going to hang out soon. Thank you so much. And I just want to say thanks again. And to all my listeners, thank you guys for listening. Please like or subscribe. It's at Grindr Survivr, both on Facebook and Instagram. And if it's on YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you got something out of it, please do leave a comment or leave a positive review in iTunes. So thank you guys very much. Thanks, Christopher. See you soon.
Thank you, Andrew. Take care.